Today we're going to talk about printing your images and why you should do it. Hey guys, so welcome back to the channel. This is Dylan Golby, photographer here in Seoul again. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about something that I really love to do, which is printing your images. And I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a run through on how I do it, and also why I think that everybody should do it. Okay, so first up, let's talk about why I feel like everybody should print their images and why I personally like to print my images. This is a topic that I have discussed on fstoppers.com and fujilove.com before, and the main reason I guess that I feel like printing is a great idea is that when you actually go to commit your images to a final finished print, it forces you, or at least it forces me, to get in there and have a look at the image very closely. Have I done everything that I need to create this finished product before I sort of commit it to that irreversible, it's not a Photoshop layer anymore, it's an image on a piece of paper. So I feel like that process really helps you to delve in, reflect on how you're doing things. Is it the best way I could be doing this? Is it producing the best possible image before I put it onto paper? Those sorts of things that really help you improve your process on the computer. Also, once it's out of the printer and you've got this physical thing in your hand, it's a wonderful experience to reflect on that image, to take a look at it from a distance. Maybe look at it every morning as you have your cup of coffee before you get your day started, and just over the course of time see, well, you know, did I crop this the best possible way? Did I sharpen this the right way? Are my colors actually as good as I thought they were? Is the contrast okay? Will it reproduce if somebody, say, purchased this image and wants it on their wall or in a magazine? Is it going to look okay when it gets reproduced in there? Is it going to look the way I want it to? And this process allows you to take your... okay. We're in the darkness. We're going to try that again. Aha, we're back. Alright. Right, so now that we're back in the light, let me continue. This process basically allows you to refine your images and maybe decide which ones you might not want to continue using, which ones might go in your portfolio, which ones might not. So as I mentioned, the very first step you're going to want to go through here is actually checking your edits, making sure that everything is ready for print. The second thing you're going to want to make sure you do is calibrate your monitor. Now, it may not seem like a huge deal when everybody's monitor in the world, particularly most of the people viewing your photographs, don't have calibrated monitors. But if you want to go to print something, typically printers, especially ones of, you know, high quality, or magazines and things like that, they will have calibrated printers, and whatever gets given to them is what will come out. And if you're looking at that incorrectly on your monitor, what you may find is what you thought looked amazing doesn't look so great once it's printed. So I recommend that if you're going to be doing any printing, the first thing you'll want to get is some sort of a calibration device. This one is the i1, what is it called? i1 display from X-Rite. And I find that this one works really well with my Dell monitors, so if you are working with a Dell UltraSharp monitor, you might want to look into this one as well. Once you've run through that software process of calibrating your monitor, what you're seeing on your screen is going to be much closer to what you'll see in a print. Now, of course, you can take this even further and calibrate your printer if you're using a printer at home, and that will allow you to make sure that things match up absolutely perfectly. But I recommend that for printing, the very first step you should be doing is making sure that what you see is actually what's there, or at least as close to it as you possibly can. And so once you've done that, you're going to want to jump into Lightroom, and from there you're going to want to clean up your image. Just check that, you know, there's nothing too deep black or too bright white. Those things don't reproduce all that well, especially on matte papers. And then you'll also want to just check that all your cloning job's done well, you know, all of the little bits and pieces that you lightened and darkened, all your dodging and burning is looking good. Once you've checked all of that and you feel like you're happy with it, take a step back, spend a little time away from the image, come back to it, and check it again before you print. Because what you're going to want to do is take a very deep breath and click that print button, and it's going to start costing you money when that happens. So best to get it right. So now that we've discussed the things that you can do to prepare yourself for the printing process, let's jump into Lightroom and I'll show you how I go about printing on my Epson 3880. Okay, so the very first thing that you're going to want to do is head over into the print module, which you can do by clicking print at the top here. And as you can see, I've got the image that I had selected in Lightroom is now on this piece of paper, this virtual piece of paper. And what I'm going to do from here is just check that everything is set up so that I know that I'm going to be printing to the right size paper and that I'm going to be printing my image at the size that I want it. So the very first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to hit page setup over here in the bottom left. Now, from here I'm going to then check that my paper size is set to Super A3, which is 19 by 13, which is what I'll be printing to, and that my source is set to manual rear. Now this is just for the Epson printer because I'm loading sheets individually at the back of the printer. Okay, I'm also going to set the orientation to landscape to make sure that what I'm viewing in the print module is, going to fit my image the best so that I can kind of check where it's going to be. So, the next thing that I'm going to do, seeing as that was all right, is go over here and make sure that I've got my page grid set to 1 row and 1 column, which is just going to be one individual image. And the next thing is to set my cell size to 12 by 18, which will fill as much of the paper as I can at a sort of a standard size. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down, make sure that sort of all the identity plate and background colors and watermarking, all that sort of stuff is turned off because I'm not going to be doing any of that. That's just a print for me personally. So then I'm going to set my print resolution to its default, which is 240 ppi. Now, for some papers or applications you might want to change this, but I'll be working with Epson's Watercolor Radiant White today, and this seems to work just fine for me. Now, the next thing that I'm going to do is set my print sharpening to matte paper and low. And basically what this does is it allows Lightroom to add a little bit of extra sharpening to accommodate for the fact that I'll be using a sort of a rougher matte paper. And I found that if you go too high on this, it tends to look a little over sharpened, so I leave it on low. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to color management and I'm going to set my profile for the printer. And typically this will be default set to manage by printer, but I don't want the printer to do any changes after my image leaves Lightroom. I want to have the colors that I've specified go to the printer and be replicated there. So I'm going to set the particular profile for the paper that I'm using. And then the intent here I'm going to set to perceptual because I found that it gives me the closest to what I see on my screen in most cases. And sometimes you might find that things just look a little strange when they come out of the printer, and it can be as simple as switching this to relative and doing another test print, and sometimes it will look a lot better. Before I actually go ahead and get excited and click print, I'm going to go into this next thing here, which is printer. And from here I'm going to make sure that my correct printer is selected, and then I'm going to hit properties. And once I hit properties with the Epson printers, I get their printer dialog, and that allows me to set things like paper type, the way I want my colors to be adjusted, etc., etc. So what I'm going to do again is I'm going to select my media type. I'm going to go to fine art paper and watercolor radiant white, which is the paper that I'll be using. And then I'm going to make sure that I'm printing in color because this image is not black and white. And then I'm going to hit print quality of speed. Honestly, for these size prints and on this paper, I haven't been able to tell a difference between speed and quality here. If you put it on quality, it just seems to use a little bit more ink. So, next thing up, I'm going to set my mode to custom and turn color correction off, so no color adjustment. If you don't check this, it will again override this profile here, and the printer will end up changing the colors on you. Make sure that the source and size of paper are still set here, and in your page layout, make sure that the landscape is set, also your paper size is set. Sometimes these two things don't communicate with each other that well, and you'll end up with a print that gets cut in half or something like that. So just make sure you check these, and once you've done all of that, you can actually save these profiles within the driver itself. So if you've got commonly used paper sizes, commonly used settings, just save those, and then you can just simply do what I have here, which is watercolor color, and it will set everything that I usually use. And then I'm going to hit OK. And the one thing that you need to remember about Lightroom is if you've gone into this printer button here, even when you click OK here, you're still in the print dialog. So you will get an image if you click OK here. So we hit OK, and it will print. Okay, so the image has been sent to the printer, and it's on its way out now. While we wait for that to happen, I'll run through the next couple of things that I usually like to do. And the first one is to really watch it come out of the printer. It's kind of exciting, especially the first time you print a file, to watch it come out of the printer. And then the next thing that I like to do is when it's done, give it a couple of hours to dry, and then I'll take it out into sunlight. And sunlight is the best place, unless you've got actual viewing light, sunlight is the best place to sort of appreciate the true contrast and color that's come out on that paper. And you'll find that your image may look a little different than if you view it inside your house, so I do recommend doing that. Once it's done, show it to people, view it every day, enjoy your print. Take a look at it again. Maybe there's things you want to change. Go back, edit again, create another print. This is the joy of printing, and it's expensive, especially the initial outset of buying a printer is really expensive, but it's really beneficial for your photography, so I do recommend that you do that. So let's have a look at this print coming out of the printer, and we'll show it to you guys in a moment. Thanks again for watching. Like, subscribe, give us a comment, let me know what you think, ask any questions if you have them. Thanks again for watching, guys. Take care.